Seen around 8 a.m. on Route 2.
Commissioner.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner.
we're not chalking this up to
And surely City Hall has more to clean up.
anything up. We should let these say a few words.
No, come away. Bastion from my class.
Hi, man. It's okay, I'll just...
Puppet on the show.
They found his...
At the conclusion of the press conference in episode 2 of Eric, Vincent gets a sight of Eric. Later on, he becomes agitated at witnessing Cassie's old pupil, Sebastian, consoling her. Then, when Cassie asks Vincent to assist her in her hunt for Edgar, he declines, citing his need to get to work. He believes that getting Edgar's puppet on the show is essential. Michael questions Edgar's teacher about him in the interim. The missing boy is seen fleeing from home with an unidentified male in one of his paintings. A press conference for Edgar Anderson, who is missing, is where the episode opens. Ivan Morris Howe. After answering inquiries from Greg, Robert Garlas and Mary, Sabrina Javor regarding rising crime and the disappearance of Marlon Rochelle, Ben Soreri, Commissioner Nelson, William Hope hands the conversation over to Vincent, Benedict Cumberbatch and Cassie Anderson, Gabby Hoffman. Vincent appears to startle everyone by apologizing to Edgar and requesting him to go home after a brief moment of doubt and Cassie's glance. A small youngster beating on the glass door in the rear of the room quickly grabs the attention of the attendees. As Nelson ends the conference, he tells Matteo Kripp, David Denman, that if he can turn up a body or suspect, he might be able to maintain his job. Detective Michael Ledroit, McKinley Belcher III, notices Vincent staring shell-shocked in his chair for too long when he glimpses Eric, Benedict Cumberbatch. Amid appreciating a devotion to Edgar, Vincent seems uneasy about Cassie and Sebastian's, Jose Pimentel, close proximity. When he comes very forcefully and pushes Sebastian away, he just makes things worse. When Cassie finds out that Vincent is not skipping work to distribute posters but is unwilling to accept his mother Ann Anderson's, Phoebe Nichols' $25,000 bounty, Cassie is even more enraged. Edgar's teacher, Mrs. Ryan, Pandora Collin, informs Michael that he was quite antisocial. Her assertion that this is typical of one-child homes notwithstanding, Michael's focus is on a recent drawing by Edgar. Edgar seems to be running from not just one but two rival parents, but also an older black guy she can't seem to place. Later, Michael finds out that Kennedy, Bobby Schofield, was killed in a hit and run. Nevertheless, when he tries to talk to Kripp about what happened at the Lux, he is told right away that he should be spending his time hunting for Edgar. As Vincent arrives on the Good Day Sunshine set, tensions are evident right away, and they only become stronger from there. Shortly after, he gets into a heated argument with Ronnie, Roberta Colindres, who makes fun of him for allowing Edgar to go to school by himself. Returning to the police, Tina, Erica Soto hands Michael a dossier with the names of all known criminals who have committed crimes within 5 blocks of Edgar's flat. He doesn't take long to realize that George Lovett, Clark Peters, is who he is, and he quickly leaves the office again. Shortly after, Michael arrives at George's flat with 2 cops in uniform and almost extends an invitation to enter. George complies with Michael's every request, even though he seems reserved, even unlocking the boiler room door. Michael stays with George until one of the cops points out to him from below what looks to be a cell that has a juice box that was just thrown away in the child's painting on the wall. As Cassie distributes missing posters, she gets stomped underfoot and ignored. Gator, Wade Alain Marcus, accepts one, but she doesn't acknowledge him as the Lux's owner. Although she follows someone she believes to be Edgar's coat, she is essentially told to screw off. She finds out a few minutes later that George has been taken into custody in relation to Edgar's case from a neighboring TV. Vincent approaches Lenny Wilson, Dan Fogler, to utilize Edgar's puppet, Eric, and Lenny recognizes his strange behavior right once. Vincent seems to think that Edgar would come back because he saw Eric on TV. To Vincent's astonishment, Lenny concurs and represents him to Jerry, Donald Sage Mackay, who has just unannouncedly arrived on site. Jerry then grudgingly schedules a meeting for this Friday. While Mitchell is gathering George's prior psychological records and setting up a blood test, he finds out that Miss Clark has arrived and is requesting to talk with George. Renata Clark, LaTonya Borsay, aware of George's past transgressions and close proximity, is quick to play the racial frame-up card. When questioned, George freely confesses to having type O blood, which is consistent with what was found on Edgar's shirt, and to letting Edgar draw in the boiler room. Michael is shocked to find out that Edgar has blood type A and that Vincent is sure about George's innocence in spite of the juice box and drawings when he tells the Andersons about his findings. Crip has a different opinion, and by the time Michael tells him the news, he's virtually already sipping his celebration whiskey. Before going home, after being barraged by media, Vincent and Cassie quarrel about spending Anne's award money. Though it seems like neither of them wants to spend the money, Cassie is prepared to make a concession if it means finding the answers. She tells Vincent about her earlier meeting on the metro and discovers that he is carrying Edgar's sketches. Upon being questioned about them, he divulges his scheme to get the network to show Edgar's puppet in the hopes that it will motivate him to come back. When he learns that Cassie believes he's responsible for Edgar being missing, he takes off with the reward money. While on the train, Eric keeps pressing Vincent's buttons, upsetting a few other riders as it seems like Vincent is having arguments with himself. Michael pays George a visit in his cell later that evening, bringing along a photocopy of Edgar's drawing. He chuckles at the idea that the black man in the picture may be him, even though George tells him that he shouldn't be talking to him without his lawyer present. That's how the entire discussion unfolds, save from George's denial that he liked kids as much as Michael believes. While Vincent is visiting his mother, the little girl who Cassie thought was wearing Edgar's jacket delivers something to Yusef, Bama Kane. Anne starts insulting Vincent right once, and she only gets worse when he begs to stay the night. She asks if he needs a motel, but she also warns him that Tia hasn't cleaned the guest room and it's too late. She brings up his returning to his medicine after observing his peculiar behavior with Eric. The entire exchange proceeds in this manner until he hands up the check and walks out. As he leaves, he calls out to his father, Robert Anderson, John Doman, but all he does is gaze at him before closing the office door in his face. When Michael gets home later that evening and finds that William, Mark Gillis has tried to take a shower by himself, he gets furious. On his way out, he finds out that William has already begun distributing his possessions in the case of his passing, which irritates him even more. After departing, Michael listens to the tape he made during his attempt to assassinate Kennedy while he stakes out the Lux. Before long, he's inside asking Gator questions regarding the recording. Gator assures him that his activity is now lawful despite his prior acts after listening to the recording. Gator brings Michael to Mandy and his child, who just so happens to be the voice on the audio that Michael has been confusing for Edgar, when it seems that Michael doesn't trust him. William returns down to the station, but his evening becomes much more depressing when he gets a phone from Cecile Rochelle, Adepero Odier, informing him that her son Marlon is gone.